Hello guys, in today's tutorial we're going to make some weapons, and I have here in this thing some weapons, and I have here a bazooka and a rocket. So let me do what we always do: point, sprite editor, and this time we want to slice them multiple. Change this, let's see, to 10. 10 is okay, and in a sprite editor let's hit apply, and let's slice automatically. Slice, apply. And if I drag this into the scene, okay, that's a bit of a big sized bazooka, so I'm going to change it a bit. Maybe 15, it's better. Okay, I'm going to leave it at 15. Anyways, in this tutorial we're going to make two weapons that will work differently, and both can be attached to the player, and the player will use them to shoot something. So the first thing that we're going to do is to just make this projectile be something. And to make this a projectile we have to add just a box collider to it. Let's make it a bit smaller, like that, and a rigid body 2D, and I'm going to make it kinematic so it doesn't get affected by gravity, and also a script destroy by time, which just makes it destroy after some time. I'm going to make 20 seconds. And by the way, I'm going to make this a trigger by default. You can make it not be triggered, but you can do it whatever you want. And now we're going to start with this bazooka. And besides this, we also have another projectile, which was the fur ball. This fur ball that we used in so many other tutorials. Anyways, now with this bazooka I'm going to start to make the weapon script, and this script will just hold the information that the weapon should have. And a cool way to do this will be by using inheritance, but because I don't know much about that, I'll just do it my own way. So this weapon won't have any of these things. What it will have is some variables, and let's see what can a weapon hold. Well, first it has to have some shape. It has to be something. So public sprite. This will be the sprite of the weapon. It also has to shoot something. So public game object projectile. It can also have a projectile speed. So public float projectile speed. It will also have a cooldown or a fire rate or whatever you want to call it. So public float cooldown. It will also have a tip, which is basically where it will be shot from. So in this case, in this bazooka, it should be shot from this point over here, and this will be the tip. So just put here public vector 2 tip. It could also have the ammo, but we're not going to take care of that right now. And it will have a mode, so I'm going to put this here. It will be an enum public enum mode, and this will just be the way that the weapon behaves. So it could be melee, it could be a straight projectile, it could be a follow, something that follows, or it could be throw, something that you throw. And this is just some example states. I'm just going to use two in this tutorial, which will be the straight and the throw. Anyways, with that done, I'm going to also put here a public mode called projectile mode, and all of this stuff can be set up in the inspector. And the thing that will be a little bit harder to do in the inspector will be the tip. So for that we're going to make a little change. So in this bazooka, which is here, I'm going to create an empty game object and put it in the tip, so right here. And then I'm going to make the tip be equal to the transform.getChild, and this will get the child from this game object, it will get the first child, and because it only has one, it will be that child. Dot transform dot position. Okay, so the tip now will be these coordinates, and now we have here a few variables like the sprite and whatnot, and let's change them. So the sprite will be the bazooka for this, in this case. The projectile will be this missile, so I'm going to put this in the prefabs folder. So name it missile and put it in the prefabs, and now go back to the bazooka and drag that missile prefab into here. The projectile speed, something that you want. The cooldown, also something. And the melee will be the mode, and let's make the mode straight. Okay, this is the default weapon, but right now we just made a weapon, but it isn't doing anything, it just holds some information. And now to make the player equip it, what I'm going to do is in the player create a new empty game object, call it weapon slot, and in this game object over here we're going to add a new script, and let's call it weapon manager, and let's open it. And it is in this script that we're going to program the behaviors of whatever the game object that the player caught. So first off, in this script we need a public game object active weapon, and this will be the weapon that the player is currently equipped with. And I'm going to also give it a reference for the weapon script. So weapon script called just WPN, for short for weapon. And here in the start we're going to make the WPN be equal to active weapon dot get components weapon, like so. And this way, if for instance the player is equipped to the launcher, so let me first make the launcher the bazooka, a game object, and put it in the prefabs. I forgot an A. So if the player is equipped with a bazooka, it will get this will get the weapon script of the bazooka, and now we can use this information to program the behavior. Anyways, in the update function, let's do some stuff. But first off, when do we want to shoot? Well, I'm going to shoot when we press the Q button. So if input dot get key down key code dot q, then it will do something. And basically what we want to do is to instantiate the projectile of that weapon from the tip. So let's put here game object projectile be equal to a game object, and this will instantiate, and we have to find the projectile, and that information is held in this script. So WPN dot projectile will be what we want to instantiate, and we want to instantiate it in this game object over here. And to do this, there's a simple way to do it, which is put here transform dot position plus WPN dot tip, and then we want to instantiate it with a certain rotation. For now it will be just quaternion dot identity. Let's save, and it is giving us an error, which is because this tip should be a vector 3 instead of vector 2. And by the way, there's a little mistake with that tip. Let me show you. Anyways, this now is working. If I click on this weapon that we have here and play, you'll see that the tip will have these big ass values, and we want this tip should be with these values. So, and that's because here in the tip you made it be like this, but actually what we want to do is not to make it equal to the transformed position. We want it to be equal to local position dot local position, and now it should be equal to those values. Let's see. And as you can see, it's equal to those values. Anyways, right now it's like we had a bazooka equipped. So if I press Q, you'll see that we instantiate stuff, but right now it's not working very well. So first off, we're going to make the bazooka appear and also make the projectiles change the rotation and give them velocity. So to first do that, in the weapon slot I have to add a sprite renderer so that we can show the bazooka in the player. So in the weapon manager, in the start, I can make here get component sprite renderer dot sprite to be equal to the WPN dot sprite, okay, like so. And now here the projectile I want to sometimes rotate it, so just put here a vector free rotation, and we could make this in the top, but just to make it faster, let's put it here. And basically what we're going to make here a ternary operator, so we have to check if the transform dot parent dot local scale dot x equals 1. So because the weapon slot is a child from the player, with this we're checking if the scale of the player is 1 or -1, the x scale, so that we know if the player is facing right or left. So if it indeed is 1, then we want the rotation to be equal to vector free dot 0, meaning it will have the same rotation. But if it's not 1, if it's -1, then we want the rotation to turn 180 degrees in the Z, like so, but in the projectile. So to do that, just put here vector free dot forward times 180, and the vector free dot forward is basically a vector that is 0, 0, 1, and time that for 180, and it will be 0, 0, 180. And now here in the projectiles, instead of putting in the default quaternion rotation, we want to convert Eulers into quaternion, so put quaternion.Euler, and we want to convert a vector free, and that was the rotation vector that we just did. And now I want to check the projectiles mode, so if WPN dot projectile mode equals weapon mode straight, and this is the mode of the bazooka. As you can see here, it's in the straight mode. Then what we want to do is to make the projectile dot get component rigid by 2D dot velocity, and this will be equal to whatever the direction of the player is times the speed. So the direction of the player is transform dot parent dot local scale dot x times vector 2 dot right, and you use this in the tons of tutorials ago, times the WPN dot projectile speed, and this is where we hold the projectile speed. And now let's see if this is working fine. Hopefully it is. So as soon as I play, as you can see, our player now has a bazooka. If I press Q, the projectiles are instantiated. It's working very well, but as you can see, for some reason they're not being instantiated from the tip. So let's see why is that. Okay, and I just discovered the reason for that, and that is because when we apply this weapon to the player, because we actually did that offline, it didn't even calculated this. So we're not going to actually need this tip thing. So what we're going to do is to calculate this automatically from the other script. So delete all of this tip stuff, and here instead of using the dot tip, we want to transform the transform dot position plus, and we want to access the weapon, so active weapon, and just paste whatever I put from there, so dot transform dot get child dot 0, and get the local position. And now it should be working fine. Let's see if I hit play. As you can see, it's instantiating from the tip, but in this way it's still instantiating from that tip, and all you have to do is to make this multiplied by the scale of the player, the x scale, so that you can rotate this around. So transform dot parent dot local scale dot x, and now it will instantiate in the correct place, as you can see. With that done, let's give the missile a projectile tag so that it can collide with zombies and whatnot. So right now the zombie dies, and that's cool. And we have now programmed one type of weapon, and that's the bazooka over here. And I'm going to actually create here a new folder for the weapons. I'm just going to create two in this tutorial, but whatever. So I'm going to put here the bazooka, and now I want to make another weapon. So I'm just going to copy this bazooka and change whatever I want. So first off, the sprite, because this weapon here will just be throwing furballs, but not like the cat did, but just like a grenade, throwing them. So the way that we want to show the weapon is with the furballs. So I'm going into the sprites and try and find the furball over here and put it there, so that we can see it through a furball. This will not appear in the player. So because what should appear in the player is this sprite here, and this sprite will be null, so it doesn't show anything. The projectile will be the furball projectile, which is in the prefabs furball that we have here. The projectile speed can stay like that. The cooldown will be like that. We haven't taken care of that yet. We'll take care of that in a second. And the projectile mode will be throw. With that done, let's name this furball thrower and put that on the weapons. And also in the player weapon slot, go into the weapon manager script and change that for this furball thrower. And now let's program this behavior. So right now this stuff over here will remain the same. We won't need to change any of this stuff. All we have to do is to program the throw mode. So here we're going to check if this is in the throw mode. So else if this is in the mode dot throw, then because the throw ball is actually kinematic and we want to throw it, so we want forces to be applied to it, I want to access the projectiles rigid by 2D and change it. So projectile dot get components rigid by 2D dot is kinematic and make it equal to false, because right now it is kinematic. And now what I want to do is to also again to access the rigid by 2D and give it a velocity. So dot velocity equals, and I'm going to make this equal to a vector 45-degree angle, so it will go on this direction or in this direction depending on the direction of the player. So new vector 2, and this in here it will be the transform dot parent dot transform dot local scale dot x, and the y will be 1, and we want to multiply this by the projectile speed. So as you may recall, that was held in the weapon. So weapon dot projectile speed, like so. And now just like that we have done a new weapon, and let's see if this weapon is working fine. So here I have the player. I press Q, and as you can see, if we throw for balls just like intended. Now I forgot to change the tip. So here in the furball, as you can see, this is the tip. In this case, we want the furball to not throw from any point, to throw from the player. So just put it at 0, 0 or something similar. Hit apply to the furball, and now if we play again, you'll see that the player will be throwing furballs from its center, and that's pretty cool. And the last thing that I'm going to do today is to give to our rocket some good stuff, and by that I mean I'll give it a sound and a emitter. So we have here our default missile over here, and I'm going into here and get this, put it into somewhere like into the assets, find it, and just drag it into the missile like so. And just like that, the missile has an audio source, and that won't want to play on awake. So let me change the weapon of the player, go back to the bazooka, like so, and hit apply on this. And now as soon as I throw it, you can see the sound. Now let's give him some particles, and I think that I already have some particle emitters here. Okay, I'm going to use these run particles that I have here. Just drag them into the missile and put them at 000, hit apply, and now the missile should have some particles, like so. And I almost forgot, now we're going to make the cooldown thing also, and we're going to use a coroutine to do it. So here in the weapon manager, I'm going to put here a bool called can shoot and make it by default true. And whenever we press Q and can shoot is true, then this will happen. And when this happens, I want the can shoot variable to be equal to false, and to execute a coroutine. So start coroutine, and let's name it cooldown. And before the end of the script, just put here IEnumerator, just like in any other coroutine, and call it what we called it here, cooldown, like so. And this coroutine will be very simple. All I want to do is to wait a few seconds, so you'll return new wait for seconds, and the seconds that we want to wait are the seconds that are specified in this weapon cooldown. And as you can see, we access the weapon through the WPN variable. So WPN dot cooldown, so it will wait these seconds, and only after that I want the can shoot to be equal to true. Save, and now let's see if this is working fine. So we have the weapon equipped, and in here I made it have a cooldown of 1 second. So if I press Q all the time, only 1 second at a time, only after 1 second we can throw the next rocket. And that's basically it. Now that's it for today, guys. In the next tutorial I'll make a weapon pickup, so see you there.